Good afternoon, everyone.
We'll look for that. John Acorn.
All right.
Good then.
Okay, good morning. We'll call the governance committee meeting to order. Next item on the agenda is to accept the minutes from the September 16th, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion? Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are accepted. At this point, we'll open the governance committee meeting to public comment. If there's anyone that wishes to address us, you have 5 minutes. We just ask that you give us your name and address. Is there anyone who wants to, at this time, address the governance committee meeting? Seeing none, we'll close that section of the meeting. Next item on the agenda is a review, discussion, recommendation of a resolution approving an extension of the sales and use tax exemption letter of 333 Grande Avenue LLC from October 18th, 2024 through and including October 18th, 2026. The total of which will not exceed $955,000. Stacy.
Okay, this project Homestead on Grand in the village of Johnson City was approved by the board several months ago. This is a project receiving formal 9% tax credits through New York State Homes and Community Renewal. In preparation to close and begin this project, one of the things that has occurred is the deadline on 333 Grand tax exempt status, which is set to expire this month in about 2 days. So they are simply requesting an extension from the time for 2 years. So this is typically we do 1 year. This is a request for 2 years extension on their sales tax exemption. Larry Regan is on the Zoom. I see Larry as well as Gabe Regan representing the project. If the board has any questions.
Any questions?
Brand's point, it's really Grand Have, isn't it?
It is
No,
Grand.
E.
That's a correct, yeah.
No.
There isn't.
But it's planned, Grant.
The LLC has an E at the end, but the street is without the E.
Okay.
The streets were
Right.
happy. What did he say?
We're gonna have to go to Dan Cracker on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Grande.
all right.
Fancy.
Okay.
Yeah, they can do that when they're marketing it.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, any questions?
No,
Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A review,
Thank you.
discussion, recommendation of a resolution authorizing a leaseback transaction to facilitate the acquisition, renovation, and equipping of property located at 435 Main Street and 435 Main Street rear in the village of Johnson City to be used as an apartment building with a resident lounge and gymnasium, as well as commercial or office space with additional parking spaces, and appointing the Lane Group of New York LLC, a New York limited liability company, the company agent of the agency for the purpose of acquiring, renovating, and equipping the project, and to provide for a sales and use tax exemption benefit in an amount not to exceed $560,000, to provide for a mortgage recording tax exemption benefit in an amount not to exceed $160,500, provide a real property tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $3,131,208, including authorizing a payment in lieu of tax agreement and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain documents with respect thereto.
Okay, so today's action would be for the consideration of approval of benefits sought by the project developer, the Lane Group of New York LLC. Just a refresher, the project involves acquiring the site, the former Johnson City High School, the former Penn Trading Center, with a focus on historic preservation of the exterior and adaptive reuse of the two existing buildings. The high school building will be renovated and reconstructed to house 58 market rate apartments, comprising of 1 and 2 bedroom units. The building will also feature resident lounge. Gymnasium building will be repurposed for commercial space. It is my understanding that that tenant is voting on their lease with the development group today. Additionally, the project will include improvements to the surrounding site, including 40 additional parking spaces to supplement the existing 105 for residents, and also involves the acquisition and installation of necessary furniture, fixtures, and equipment to support residential and commercial use. Again, project dynamics, this is roughly a $20.2 million investment by the Lane Group. First year total payroll is approximately 270,000, as housing tends to provide less job creation, but other ancillary benefits. They expect 80 construction jobs totaling $6.6 million during the term of the renovation. They are seeking a standard 20-year pilot. I do have Mayor Marty Meany, the Village of Johnson City, and Mark Lane and Conan Saratani representing the Lane Group here, just to provide an update on some things that have transpired that I think the board should be aware of since the public hearing, which was held on Monday, October 8th. The board has received transcript for the hearing. We were notified yesterday by the media that there has been notices placed on the building that the building is temporarily uninhabitable. So to enlighten the board, I'll ask Mayor Meany or Mark if you'd like to just give us an update on that.
Mayor, would you like to go first, or would you like me to?
That would be you.
Muted. Air.
I think it's you, Mark.
I guess I'm just-
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not in control of the asset as of yet. We intend to close to be 30 to 60 days, depending on the outcome of this, as well as some other things, but we've been talking to the finance people for over a year. We're on revision 9 of the pro forma. We're getting updates on interest rates daily. As you know, we dropped recently, so we're taking advantage of that. As far as what happened, I attended the meeting in Johnson City. There were only 2 people there, one being the mayor and myself, along with WB&G, which I did a little release there, thanking everybody involved, and I thank you again. The mayor approached me, and I learned earlier that day from the current owner of the building, Gene McKillian, that somebody had broken into the building over the weekend. So this was Wednesday, and yes, and she had, right? And it compromised the electrical panel. And I guess for salvage scrap is the only thing I can think of why they did it. They took a sledgehammer to it and apparently tried to confiscate the copper wire, I assume for scrap. So that took the power down to 50% of the building. So when that happens, you can imagine heat, and with the colder days coming, the sprinkler systems and the safety things in place are compromised. So yes, there are tenants in the building. In my understanding, I don't have a current role. I had one from about a year ago. I can tell you those leases are on a 30-day leases. So it was never our intention to take the building over with the leases in place. They were going to be, and this is the owner, was going to terminate those leases prior to the closing. If there were some leases that were attractive to us that carry forward, and I'm sure there are a few, but this commercial tenant came along and took up most of the space. So there is about 2,000 to 3,000 square feet in the gymnasium that remains. that's an expansion space for the current tenant that's voting on that today. We should have it executed, at least in our hand.
Tomorrow.
I understand tomorrow, but I understand that meeting took place at 8 or 9, and I asked the representative to call you to solidify that that's
Sure.
a formality. So a young lady came into the meeting shortly after she missed it, and we accommodated, we said, what can we help you with? And apparently she owns a studio there, I guess a photography studio. I mentioned this to Jean, she was unaware there was a photography studio. Well, whatever. I said, look, if we can accommodate you, we'll give you our contact information. We'd be happy to put you in the gym if we can accommodate you. So we're willing to do that with certain tenants, but we have no control over them as we speak. But unfortunately, that break-in led to the fire department and the Johnson City Police to go over to the building. And I guess while they were there, the code enforcement officer noticed a few violations. So obviously, he said to me, look, we're gonna have to do something about this to protect the safety of the tenants, the owner, the asset, and even violators should they get in there, nothing should happen, like cutting the power and electrocuting themselves. So we agreed to go over the next day as good, I guess, good citizens, but also protecting our interest in the building, to say, look, where can we help? It's not really our responsibility, but it is because we're gonna close here within 30 to 60 days. So we offered assistance to secure the building wherever we could. And then he did not want, this is not condemnation, just so we differentiate, just uninhabitable. He sent an electrician over there to assess, even
Yeah.
the issue house, they couldn't make it. This is how fast we were reacting to see if we can't get the power back on so the tenants can continue to do what we need to do and solve any code violations until we take possession of the building or until the termination leases are in place. So we're working diligently. I think Conan was over there this morning.
I was.
To see what we need to do to accommodate those tenants.
Yeah.
So
Make
because
sure they can get in, get their
belongings out and
and get out.
everything else. So we just have to make sure that's done in a safe manner and we just protect everybody involved. But when you have no fire alarm or sprinkler system is deactivated and things like that, I guess they've deemed it, it's not William H. Lane, it's not Gene McKilligan, it's just they've deemed it to be uninhabitable temporarily. So we're working.
Right, so no commercial activity can occur in the building now, but we're getting access for everybody to get all their stuff out.
And to say, I guess when these projects get announced, it tends to be an increase in theft in things. They know that there's gonna be a lapse, probably, it's gonna be empty for a while. And we see what's going on around the community, and, it's unfortunate, but there's break-ins, and there's been repeated attempts at break-ins, cutting locks and everything else, and Gene and Charlie live in Oleana, and unfortunately Mike passed away, who was there every day. So they do come down 5 days a week to try to just make sure everything's fine, but they are in Oleana.
Right.
So we're trying to assist her.
Day, to have overnight security on site.
So at least we can prevent any further, I guess,
Until
Situations.
construction starts, which we assume will
Gene.
plan in
January.
January first.
Yeah, we have our part one approvals, we're working, we've spent considerable money with our architect. At least out of
Lee Johnson.
Elmira.
Yeah.
So, and she's a specialist in historic preservation and renovations, so she's doing all that for us. The drawings are in progress. We'll submit those to the village. I think you may have seen a glance of what we're doing. I
It's
hope.
in the packet. Yep, there's, yep, a whole.
As you know, with historic, you have to go through that process and we have to restore it exactly the way they dictate to restore
Right.
it, which adds a financial burden because obviously all the exterior masonry, cornice and everything that goes along with that. So we've been on this for 2 years and unfortunately there are ups and downs with Mike's passing and this and that. So there is a purchase agreement in place and I think Lillian is coordinating a closing because from the date that the option expires and we've extended that 3 times, just because it's going on. But I can tell you financing is lined up, ready to vote. We just have to make a decision on the 2 historic tax credit investors tomorrow. We have a call. Basket and Holstein is representing us. They held our hand all the way through the financing. And full owned resident. We did another deal, 20 million plus up in Syracuse, which is, I'm proud to say, 100% occupied. And successful, and we use the same team to line up all these tax credits and everything else, so. That's, I don't know if that touched on all the points. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer your comment. Or Mayor.
He texted, he's having some trouble unmuting. I told him,
Well, he was not, yeah, it's not, maybe he doesn't want to.
So Mark, I have a question. On the tenants that are in there, when you start construction, are they staying in there?
No, it will be out, and we have to do that anyway for safety,
Right.
but we're gonna attack this building because we have a tenant that needs to be up and running by August. That's more the gym portion, the back half. So these buildings, if you went over there, are separated. You have the gymnasium, which is about 20,000 feet, and you have the main building with about 80. So the 3 stories are gonna be the apartments, and it's very difficult to work around because you. tenants.
Sure.
So the idea was, they're all 30-day. And this is what I saw about a year and a half ago when I was dealing with, Mike. Gene and Charlie assured me everybody is a 30-day lease. It's unfortunate, I don't know. I would assume she has contacted everybody, it's not my.
Right.
It's very difficult to get involved in those situations. But my understanding is, and we always said, look, if we could work around them, we will. If we can put a few of them in the gymnasium temporarily, whatever, but now that's changed because it's a state agency that's going in there. They need this by August. It's gonna benefit the community tremendously. We can announce that tomorrow who it is. I just don't want to compromise. Nor do I think I have the right
Sure.
under an NDA, but.
So my point would be, yeah, so these tenants unfortunately have this issue, but they would be leaving anyway.
Correct.
So this just in a way, just
It accelerated a little bit.
A little bit, but-
Not,
not much
I'm saying
really.
a week or two, and that's up to the current
Sure.
owner to send the termination of the lease notices. Their attorney, Hoffman or is working with our attorney Lillian, because we got kind of publicly dragged into this a little bit, to make sure that is done properly. Because I said, I don't want, we want to be good neighbors, number one, and you don't want to be the big bad villain that just cost everybody on the street. So he working with the village said, look, and I was concerned about this, and I brought this up to Conan and everybody else, and the mayor can even attest to this. These people have investments in there. They have equipment. There's a gym, boxing, there's fencing, there's gymnastics. They've got to be allowed to go back in and get their equipment out.
We're allowing.
So we're working with the city to do that safety. Is that our responsibility? No, but
No, I understand. I think what you guys are doing is really admirable. I mean, it's not your responsibility, but you're trying to secure your asset. You're trying to help them.
right.
And, so,
The idea is that roof drains were clogged and the roof that was leaking on the gymnasium floor, which has to be removed. He sent people over, cleaned the drains, secured the roof. We've been,
Gym floor has to be preserved.
everything in the, everything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the windows, I know it's been an issue whether we replace the windows or keeping them, but
Gonna be there forever.
we furnish the windows rather than new.
Well, you got that track across the middle.
Yes. Yeah, which.
we have to look over the option.
Yeah.
They gotta do the same thing.
Thank goodness they're this far along.
oh,
Otherwise, it's another whiteout disaster.
We don't have to keep the food.
You have.
Well, we don't have.
We don't have that.
No, I know, I
But we'll
understand.
have
How many
50
tenants are
apartments.
there that are gonna be relocated?
That's a moving target, because some are there and some aren't. I would say what she has represented to us 20 to 30.
Yeah, paying commercial tenants.
We will
I didn't
have that.
remember that was,
But they're
there
all
was that much in there.
there's more than you think.
Good class.
Yeah.
No birthright was.
But we will have.
We used to do work with them, but I never realized there was a lot of people.
We will have a current rent roll or the tenants. Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can give you that, because it's been asked, and, if we had a space anywhere, and believe me, we're looking at other projects. If it makes sense for companies to go into one of ours, we'll certainly accommodate that, or reach out to people that may have space for them to relocate, because
So those two buildings are
There's a lot of
gonna,
space around. They-
not be connected, they're still gonna be.
Johnson City, they got kept.
Dimitri's got space.
Yeah, big and two.
Front Street has space
And-
here.
Can I have your list? I'll send it over.
I didn't see that.
That's really not our role.
In my head.
It's about 90, yeah, 100 out front.
I think these people have sweetheart leases in there. I think,
Well, whatever.
I mean, so it might be hard for them to find another spot at what they're paying now.
We good on this?
I think you did on
Parking a little bit.
that.
I think we're ready to move, right?
Let's move.
Yeah, okay.
They do what they do what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, they've done it.
They're doing more than they can be.
Absolutely.
I know the press.
Okay.
I know.
I'm there.
I wondered how that was kind of dealt with, but.
Okay, is there any other questions for Mark or Conan? Is there a motion? Is there a second? All in favor?
I-
Aye. Okay.
M&T
motion-
Bank is listed as principal bank of account, although I don't know if we have a real conflict, but I will abstain.
Okay. Okay, motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is a review, discussion recommendation of a resolution approving an extension of the October 18th sales and use tax exemption agreement with Crowley Factory Lofts LLC from October 18th, 2023 through and including October 18th, 2025. The total of which will not exceed $301,114.
Okay, so you should have a letter in your packet from Crowley Factory Lofts LLC requesting an additional extension of time from October 16th, 2024 to October 16th, 2025. For sales tax exemption related to the Crowley Factory Lofts project, delays noted in the project have been due to the amount of time taken to remove debris, which is still ongoing, and the proposal received from general contractor being substantially more than original proposals. Project is being bid on with additional general contractors and expect the process to be complete at the end of the calendar year, which is the reason for the request for extension. I do have via Zoom, Patrick Van Putty and John Korchinski, both associated with the project, if the board has any questions.
I mean,
Me either.
if, yeah, it only applies if they move forward, obviously, so.
Sure.
No questions. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is a review, discussion, recommendation of a resolution authorizing a leaseback transaction to facilitate the acquisition, rehabilitation, preservation, and equipping of 22 three-story brick garden-style apartment buildings located at 380 Shenango Street, 13 Pern Street in the city of Binghamton, to be used as affordable housing complex in the city, including 66 one-bedroom apartments, 169 two-bedroom apartments, 21 three-bedroom apartments, and 296 parking spaces, appointing VV Binghamton LLC or an entity to be later named the company agent of the agency for the purpose of acquiring, rehabilitating, preserving, and equipping the project, and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain documents with respect thereto, including a payment in lieu of tax agreement deviating from the agency's uniform tax exemption policy, a sales and use tax exemption agreement in the amount not to exceed $3,256,604, a mortgage tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $541,077, and a real property tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $10,842,402.
Okay, so this is a project that had been previously approved by the board, but at the recommendation of New York State Homes and Community Renewal has new ownership. That is VV Binghamton LLC, which is the new ownership group of what is known as the Town and Country Apartments in the city of Binghamton. This project consists of the rehabilitation of 22 three-story brick garden apartment style buildings known as the Town and Country Apartments located at 380 Shenango and 13 Pern Street. This has been noted as a high priority project for the city of Binghamton, given the condition of the buildings, and this project has received $3 million in American Rescue Plan Act or ARPA funding. The project will preserve 256 units of affordable housing in need of substantial rehabilitation. The 98 of the 256 units are restricted by a HAP contract, while the remaining 159 are leased to low to moderate income households. After completion, all units will be restricted to households earning less than 60% of area median income. This project has received and been approved for New York State low-income housing tax credits. They are preparing to close imminently, is my understanding. Again, Project Dynamics, this is roughly a $77 million investment by VV Binghamton LLC in that property. Payroll includes looks 7.5 full-time jobs with a 3-year payroll of $1.4 million. Construction jobs are estimated at 497 jobs with a total of roughly 25.5 million in new annual wages over the 3-year period of construction. We have both Joshua and Aaron Greenblatt representing VV Binghamton LLC. Should the board have any questions?
I see on the application that they've named their sub or their GC. Have they decided on any subs? All the construction costs are under the GC. Or have you solicited locally for subs?
We have, thank you for the question. My name is Josh Greenblatt. I'm with Vesta Corporation. We have solicited locally for subs. We went out to, over 900 New York State subcontractors for the job. We are currently finalizing the plans and specs. Those should be finalized. They needed to be amended from the original document, excuse me, and we'll be going back out to subs with these revised final plans and with a return date of we'll be going out to them at the end of this week and then expecting them to return their final bids by the end of next week.
How many of those subs were in our contiguous area?
So 165 are in Broome County. And then about, I guess, contiguous to Broome, I'd say another 20 or so subs. But we did draw from pretty much all over the state, with over 18% coming from, or nearly 18%, excuse me, coming from Broome County.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions at this point? Is there a motion? Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. That's all we have on the agenda. No new business at this point. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.
Very good.
Thank you.